In this video, I would like to present to you the 4 main characteristics that will allow you to assess the quality of strike of any ancient coin. Why is it important? Because the quality of the strike of an ancient coin has an important and direct impact on its value on the market. If you do not correctly assess it, you may well overpay a coin, as you will not be able to know if it is priced correctly or how high you should be bidding for it at auction. And this could be a costly mistake. In addition, if you are a serious coin collector, you should always set the quality standard of the coins in your collection as high as possible. And the quality of strike is one of the most important criteria for selection along the grade and the artistic merit. My name is Jonas, and I have been a Swiss professional numismatist, auctioneer and coin dealer for more than 15 years. And my goal is to help astute coin collectors to build their serious collection and to avoid the costly mistakes they might encounter on their numismatic journey. So, without any further ado, let's just dive in. As a starting point to this video, I would like to show you a series of silver coins from the Roman Republic, also called denarii or denarius in the singular. They were struck between summer 32 and spring 31 BC by a very well-known historical figure, Marcus Antonius, better known as Mark Antony in English. Why did I choose these coins? Because they illustrate a very important aspect of ancient coinage that is essential to always keep in mind. Each ancient coin is unique as it is the result of a very complex craftsmanship. In the near future, I might make a video on how ancient coins were produced. If it is something that would interest you, please let me know in the comments. If you look at those coins, you will see that ancient coins were not all created equal. And as a collector, you must be able to build a hierarchy, in particular based on the quality of the strike. For this matter, you should always assess the following 4 characteristics for any coin you would like to add to your collection. Characteristic number 1, centering. As you may already know, to produce an ancient coins, 2 dies were used to strike a blank and imprint both the obverse and the reverse of a coin at the same time. The obverse was usually struck with the lower die, stuck in a wooden anvil, and the reverse with the upper die held in the hand of the craftsman. The blank, also called planchette, would be placed between the 2 dies, and the hammer blow on the upper die would strike the planchette. As the coins were mass-produced, the blank was not always carefully placed in the center of the lower die, and the upper dies would not always be held correctly and perfectly aligned with the lower die. And this resulted in the production of so-called off-center coins. It is difficult to assess the proportion of off-centered coins in a production, and my experience has shown me that this proportion can be quite different depending on the era and the period of production. However, for this specific type, my study of the last 1000 specimens that have been offered for sale at auction has shown that only around 1% of those coins had one well-centered side. This proportion is even smaller if you are looking for a coin perfectly centered on both sides. It represents something like 0.1% or 1 perfectly centered specimen for 1000 coins offered on the market. Of course, this is no scientific data, as my selection of coin is not a statistically relevant group. However, it still illustrates the point. What's interesting to see is how the prices of a coin changes between a well-centered and an off-centered coin of the same type and of the same grade. Here is an example from the recent market. As shown by these two examples, a well-centered coin has a significantly higher value than an off-center one. So here is my advice. If you want to identify the best centered coins, make sure that they respond to the following standards. The coins should present the full granities on both sides. This means the full dotted lines that surrounds the design of the coin. If the coin does not present a granity, or if this criterion is too restrictive for you, make at least sure that the full design is shown on both sides of the coin, as well as all letters from the legend. Characteristic number 2, die wear. As we have already seen, to produce an ancient coins, true dies were used to strike a metal blank. The process of striking has a consequence. Each time a coin is struck, there is a minor wear of the dies. And the more the dies are being used, the more the details engraved on the dies are like worn away. In this case, as the details in the dies are worn away, the imprinted details are becoming increasingly blunt. It is estimated that an obverse die could have been used to strike up to 15,000 coins, while the reverse only half of it. This was due to the fact that the details engraved on the reverse were usually lower in relief, and thus the die worn out quicker. The consequence of that is that only the first series of coins struck with both new dies presented no wear on both the obverse and the reverse of the coin. In modern Swiss numismatics, this kind of coin is called an Erstabschlag, or first strike, and commands an important premium on its value. Here is an illustration from the recent coin market on how the value can change between an unworn and a worn die struck coin of the same grade on the actual coin market. As shown by these two examples, a coin struck with worn dies has usually a lower value than a coin struck with so-called fresh dies in the same grade. So here is my advice. If you want to have a coin struck with the least possible worn dies, make sure that it responds to the following standards. Your coin should always present the sharpest details on both obverse and reverse. What's very important is that any face represented on a coin should present very sharp details, even at a 20 times strong magnification. Characteristic number 3, weakness of strike. The production of ancient coins was a craftsmanship that was implying the striking of the dies using a very large and very heavy hammer. The problem with this technique, and contrary to the modern industrial press, is that the pressure applied on the dies could strongly vary depending on the strength of the worker and of his tiredness. This first example illustrates a general lack of strength when the coin was struck. It typically results in flat areas on the surface of both the obverse and the reverse. In addition to the factor of the strength or weakness of strike, another important factor is the angle at which the strike was given, as well as how straight the upper die was held by the worker. The consequence of a bad striking angle is illustrated with this second example. Here we can see that the details of the dies were not properly imprinted on the blank, but just on a specific area of the coin, while the other parts of the coin were perfectly struck. In addition, let's use recent auction results to see how the market value can change between a weakly struck and a perfectly struck coin of the same grade. As shown by these two examples, a coin presenting weaknesses has usually a lower market value compared to one in the same grade but strongly and perfectly struck. So here my advice. If you want to have a coin with the least amount of weaknesses, make sure that it responds to the following standard. Your coin should never present any flat surfaces besides the fields on both obverse and reverse. Characteristic number 4, double striking. A final characteristic that you should consider when assessing the quality of strike of your coin is the so-called double striking or die shift. This happens when a blank is struck multiple times and bounces or shifts slightly between the hammer blows. As the blank is not set twice perfectly the same way, it will be struck a second time in a slightly different position, creating a ghostly overlapping image. In some cases, you can see, for example, a portrait with two noses or letters from the legends that look blurry or are repeated. Here is an example to illustrate it. Now let's see how double striking can impact the market value of a coin using recent auction results. As shown by these two examples, a coin presenting double striking or die shift has usually a significantly lower value compared to a well-struck one in the same grade. So here is my advice. If you want a coin that has the least amount of double striking or die shift, make sure that it responds to the following standard. Your coin should never present any blurred aspect on both the obverse and the reverse. If your goal is to build a serious collection, especially a collection that will hold its value on the long run, I would advise assessing carefully the quality of the strike of any coin you want to add to your collection, and to avoid any coin that will present one or more of the problems that I have been presenting in this video. So before I let you go back to your coin, let me recap for you the 4 characteristics you should assess to evaluate the quality of the strike of any ancient coin and to avoid costly mistakes. Characteristic number 1, centering. Has the coin been produced with perfectly aligned obverse and reverse dies? Characteristic number 2, die wear. Has the coin been produced with fresh obverse and reverse dies? Characteristic number 3, weakness of strike. Has the coin been produced with a strong hammer blow and well horizontally held dies? And finally, characteristic number 4, double striking. Has the coin been produced without any shifting of the dies or the blank during the striking process? So this is it for this video, and I hope you have found some value here. If it is the case, please give a like to this video and subscribe to this channel. I look forward to your emails and comments and wish you a lot of good time with your coins. See you again soon, and my best regards from Switzerland.